Good morning, grade 12s. Today I quickly want to talk to you about the BIOS of a computer. The BIOS is the basic input-output system, is a firmware used to perform hardware initialization during the booting process and to provide runtime services for operating systems and programs. The BIOS firmware comes pre-installed on a personal computer system board, so on the motherboard, and it is the first software to run when you power your computer. Just quickly, where it's allocated, it will be somewhere on the motherboard, grade 12s. Now, important, we, the general user, don't fidget around with this chip. The people that knows exactly how it works, they sometimes update the firmware. The main reason why they update the firmware can be that the CPU, the newer CPU, are not compatible with that BIOS. It doesn't work with that BIOS, so they sometimes update the firmware. This firmware, not the chip, the software that is on the chip, okay, to make it compatible with other CPUs or different types of RAM, etc. Okay, so for us, we simply know that it's somewhere allocated on the motherboard. Yeah, and that is basically what we need to know. Now, the first screen that you will see if you were going to the BIOS, you'll see it's a blue screen. Grade 12s, it's not the same for all the motherboards. Each motherboard have their own BIOS interface. All the motherboards have this type of bluish interface. Also, you can't use the mouse. You can only use the arrows to navigate, and you need to use some different keys, page up and page down in some cases, to change the values. How do we access the BIOS? I don't actually want to do it on the video, but I can just say to you that if you start up your computer, you press a certain button. Okay? If you press the certain button, you get into this screen. Now, grade 12s, what can we see here? The first thing that I like to do, especially if I set up a new computer, or I like to go into the BIOS and monitor the system. So I want to see that my CPU don't get too hot. Okay, that my voltage are at the right voltage. So I monitor components. You can some BIOSes let you check the heat of the RAM if you overclock it. Some BIOSes let you check your graphics card, for instance. Not all BIOSes, but the latest ones. Right, on the BIOS, another thing that you can see that we use it for mainly is to identify hard drives and solid state drives and optical drives. So let's say I have 2 hard drives in my system, and I want to add a third SSD to my system. I'll insert the SSD into my box, and then I go into the BIOS as soon as I start it up, just to see if it picks up that SSD. Another thing also is the boot sequence that we do, or that we can do, that simply let you boot up the computer in a specific way, so that it reads the one hard drive first, the second hard drive second, the third hard drive third. So you can change the boot sequence. That normally happens when you install a new operating system on a hard drive. Then the computer will not boot from that hard drive the first time, and sometimes you can get an error message. Then you need to set up the boot sequence again. Another thing that you can do here, grade 12s, that I don't like, especially if you don't know what you are doing, is how to overclock a computer, how to make it run faster than it actually should run. I have give you this example. I can have a quad core 2.2 gigahertz. Then in some cases I can overclock that quad core to a 3.0 gigahertz. But you should know exactly what you are doing. Also, you can change the power setup, so that means you can change how much volt must go to each component. This we do especially when we overclock our computers, as it consumes more power. Again, if you don't know what you're doing, guarantee you that smoke can come out of your box, and it will cost you a lot of money. Okay? So I will not fidget with that. Another nice thing about the BIOS, what we can do here is everything that is connected to the motherboard and the motherboard itself, I can change. So I can disable the audio, I can disable the NIC, the network interface controller, the Ethernet port. I can, everything that is connected, the graphics card, the onboard display, I can disable, enable. So you have a lot of options you can change or manipulate in the BIOS. You can also see there's load BIOS defaults. This normally happens, or we use this when we try to overclock it and the computer doesn't work. Remember, if you overclock a computer, it doesn't always mean that you'll get better performance, as heat plays an important role in how your computer functions. The more heat there are, the less your computer will perform optimally. Né? And then we have also load performance defaults, and then you see the integrated peripherals. This is like, for instance, everything that's connected to your motherboard, and then you have a password that you can insert, also IDE, hard drive auto detection, and then save and exit setup or exit without saving. So this is the basic screen. And grade 12s, this is older motherboards. The newer motherboards looks like this. This is a gaming motherboard. It's a Tomahawk B40 motherboard. You can see it has an AMD Ryzen chip inside it. What is nice on this is you can use the mouse, and it is quite user friendly. So if I am in, currently this one is in easy mode. So this is basically the screen that you'll see. You can even overclock the computer with the click of a button. Okay. You can also see exactly what motherboard you have, CPU you have, memory you have, the voltage of your core, the DDR, the RAM voltage. You can see what BIOS version it is. You can see your temperature, etc. on this screen. You can also see there's boot priority. What should it boot off first? And then you can see there are lots of other options that you can also see. You can see your fan speed. You can see basically everything that is connected to your computer on this, or motherboard on this screen. If you go into advanced, again, you can play around with settings, but be careful not to change settings that you are not familiar with. Grade 12s quickly. Let's say you made a mistake on your BIOS. You have loaded a setting that is incorrect. You'll see on the motherboard itself there's a battery. If you remove the battery and you remove the power first, you remove the battery and then you switch on the computer a few times, you put back the battery and connect the power cord, you'll see you will reset your BIOS. The other way, the more safer way, is that on your motherboard there will be jumpers. It has these pins. This is now a fan connector, I know, but it has pins, and then it has a jumper that goes over these pins, and then you reset your BIOS. Grade 12s, that is the basic overview of the BIOS. We in grade 12 don't need to know in detail, but it's nice to know if you install some new hardware to your computer. Thank you, grade 12s. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.